Hey everybody, thanks for joining us here on this beautiful Tuesday morning. We're going to be talking about temperatures rising up to near 70 degrees later on today, which means, of course, that snow is just around the corner. I'm Meteorologist Chris Bianchi, and again, thanks for joining us here on 9 News Watch for a detailed look at your Colorado weather forecast. So as I mentioned today, it is absolutely gorgeous. We're going to be getting those temperatures up to near 70 degrees. It's going to feel like Southern California, at least weather-wise for your day today. And then tomorrow, our next system rolls on in from the north and the west, and that will initially produce rain for us here in Denver. That will flip over to snow, but it is a tricky forecast as we will end with some wet snow on your Thursday morning. How much, who sees the most snow, and what those impacts could look like for tomorrow night. I'm going to get into details on all that here in just a second, but I want to start things out by taking a look at what we've got going on right now outside our doors. We're already up to 60 degrees here in Denver at 11 a.m., which tells us that we're going to be making a good run at 70 later on this afternoon and early this evening. Keep in mind, by the way, with that time change, that our peak temperatures now somewhere around probably 2 to 4 p.m. as opposed to a week ago when it was about 1, 2, 3 o'clock when we were talking about those peak daytime temperatures. So point is, we've still got several hours of warm temperatures to go, 50s and 60s, generally speaking, along the eastern plains. The mountains, bluebird day, if you're lucky enough to be skiing up there, with 20s and 30s, and those temperatures continuing to climb up there. Now, as we take a look around the metro area, 56 downtown, 60 already in Littleton, and 58 out in Castle Rock. Now, forecast high of 68 degrees for us here in Denver. Would not be surprised if we overperform that. Our record, by the way, for today is 79. We will not touch that, I don't think, but should be safely below that. But I wouldn't be stunned if we end up hitting the 70-degree mark for the third time this year later on this afternoon. So got lots of sunshine in store. Light winds, generally speaking, those light winds should reduce fire danger. We do have a red flag warning in the far eastern plains to note, but for the most part, I think fire danger should be fairly tempered because of those lighter winds. Now tonight, temperatures drop down to right around freezing. It is seasonably comfortable. We will notice some increasing clouds, especially as we get into tomorrow morning. But in the meantime, for your lows for tonight, a lot of 20s and 30s on the eastern plains, teens and 20s in the mountains, and we could see a few stray snowflakes starting to push the way into far northern Colorado up by Steamboat Springs, the Parks, the Elkheads, the Flat Tops, the Medicine Bow Ranges. Could all see a little bit of light snow by tomorrow morning, maybe even up by Rocky Mountain National Park, but for the most part, that snow will hold off, that precipitation will hold off until later tomorrow afternoon. Now for tomorrow, starting to get into details about our next active weather pattern. We'll see an early-ish high of in the mid-50s for your day tomorrow. Exactly how warm it gets will be key to our forecast for tomorrow, because if we, let's say, get up to 57, 58, that means the ground will be considerably warmer compared to, say, if we only top out at maybe 51, 52. And how warm the ground is will determine how much of that snow that falls tomorrow night will actually stick on grassy surfaces and certainly on roadways. So again, keep an eye on that high temperature for tomorrow, but right now we're going to go with 55. And across the state, look at southeast Colorado once again tomorrow, 69 in Springfield, 68 Lamar, a lot of spots at or near 70 degrees once again for your day tomorrow. That should temper some of that snowfall. Meantime, mountains 30s and 40s, one more warmish day before our next storm system arrives. Now, hour by hour for your day tomorrow, we see some cloudy skies, maybe some breaks in that cloud cover during the morning hours. I think that cloud cover thickens on up as we head through the morning. And by early tomorrow afternoon, we'll start to see some of those rain showers develop here in Denver. We do start out as rain. It'll be far too warm initially for us to be talking about snow. And I think the first few hours, the majority of our storm system will fall in the form of rainfall here. And so let's kind of walk you through the forecast a little bit. And again, we're going to get into plenty of detail on this. First of all, I-70 on north, we do get a pretty decent little band of snow that works its way on through during the morning hours tomorrow. So as I mentioned, the Flat Tops, the Parks, the Medicine Bow Range, the Elkheads all see that snow during the morning hours tomorrow. Lower elevations, Grand Junction, anything below 6,500 feet. We'll likely be looking at rain, at least initially for your day tomorrow. But then as we head through the afternoon hours, that rain does flip over to snow for us here in Denver. I'm going to have a closer look in here at Denver in just a second. Now, this storm, the bulk of the storm, the center of our area low pressure that's leading to this rain and snow is down in New Mexico. So this storm is a bit too far south for northeast Colorado to get the bulk of it. Point being, Colorado Springs, Pueblo, the Wet Mountains, the Sangre de Cristos, that's where you're going to see the bulk of the precipitation from this next storm system. So Colorado Springs, you probably start as rain, and then you'll flip over to heavy, wet snow overnight tomorrow and into your Thursday morning. By the way, Colorado Springs, kind of the rare storm, where I think Colorado Springs ends up with more snow than Denver does from this one, perhaps even Pueblo as well. That system spins its way off to the east, and by Thursday afternoon, we're seeing some leftover snow showers around eastern Colorado and some rain showers as well. And by Thursday night, the system's long over and done with, and we'll wake up to sunny skies and much warmer temperatures for your Friday before our next storm system early next week. All right, closer look in here. I'm going to show you a couple of different computer forecast models, and I'll end on the one that I think is the most accurate. This is the GFS, is the American Computer Forecast model, which has a couple of inches of wet snow. But notice this is a difficult forecast here, folks. It's a really tough forecast because downtown Denver may only see a slushy 1 to 3 inches worth of snowfall. Then you go 15, 20 miles west into Golden, you're talking about the potential for 5 to 10 inches worth of snowfall out there. Same idea, 30 miles south, Castle Rock, 6,300 feet. You're talking about the potential for close to a foot of snow. This is going to be a pretty significant storm in parts of the foothills, and I wouldn't be surprised if somebody checks in with a foot of snow from this next storm. It'll be way up there. I don't think Denver is looking at anything close to that. I don't think Denver's even talking about 6 inches in Denver, but you get to 6,000 feet or above, and that's where the storm really starts to lead to some big impacts. So point being here, folks, Denver impacts will be fairly limited from this, probably. I mentioned 2.5 inches for us here in Denver. This is the forecast I think is going to end up being the most accurate. So Denver, let's say we end up with 2-3 inches worth of snowfall, right? Here in Denver, a lot of that snow will have a hard time sticking initially because of those warm temperatures today and tomorrow. So the ground's going to be fairly warm. So the point is, I think that we may end up with a slushy coating to 1 inch on roads. So those impacts on your Thursday morning, they'll be there. There'll be some impacts in Denver on your Thursday morning, but it's going to be fairly limited. We're talking about a bit of slush out on the roads. Where those impacts will be far greater will be into the foothills and into the Palmer Divide. So, for example, our friends in Highlands Ranch, in Littleton, in Parker, in Castle Rock will have a much different experience than what downtown Denver has. Downtown Denver, again, a little bit of slush on the roads, not a big deal. On I-25 through the Gap, Larkspur, Monument, Palmer Divide. And by the way, I think this is a little underdone, this map that I'm showing you here in the Divide. I think Castle Rock is looking at 6 inches plus. Same for you in Littleton, certainly out by Ken Carroll, Conifer, Evergreen. I think, again, 6 inches plus is a fairly safe bet in a lot of those spots. And where you're talking about 6 inches plus at 6,500 feet or above, that is where we could be easily talking about several inches of snow on the roads as well, and some much higher impacts. So I'm going to sum it up for you here with a little bit more about what you can expect. So we start as rain. That'll probably take place, by the way, during the commute tomorrow. In fact, if you allow me 1 second, I actually meant to do this earlier, and sorry I'm doing this live on air here, but it doesn't matter. I want to show you this in a bit more detail about what you can expect here. And here it is. Here's the graphic I do want to show you. This is going to walk you through the hour-by-hour timeline. So let's skip ahead here, folks, to mid to late afternoon. So I think the rain starts to develop somewhere before the evening rush, so expect wet roadways tomorrow as the rain starts on up. And by the evening commute, it will be raining for most of the area. 7,000, 7,500 feet or above, really kind of the higher foothills. We're talking Idaho Springs, the west side of Morrison, west side of Golden. That's where you see that snow first start to develop, but that snow is going to not really stick initially. So I don't think the impacts to the evening commute tomorrow will be much more than just wet roadways. Then, after dark tomorrow, the rain flips over to snow for most of us. Now, exactly when that happens, does that coincide with the heaviest of the precipitation? That's the big question. That could determine whether we're talking about, say, a wet couple of inches of snow here, or perhaps 3-4 inches, maybe even 5 inches here in Denver, and higher impacts of what we're anticipating. So again, just kind of want to walk you through the relatively difficult forecast we've got on our hands here, because 1 or 2 degrees is going to make a big difference with our next storm system. By Thursday morning, we're talking about leftover snow showers. Then it's over and done with. And then I'm going to leave you with this graphic again. This is the one I wanted to show you, which does show heavy wet snow for Thursday morning. Road issues at this point will likely be in the higher elevations, 7,000 feet or above, south of Denver. I think I should say 6,000 feet or above. Castle Rock will be included within that. Same for you on up by Evergreen, Golden, Morrison. That's where you're going to be looking at some much bigger issues on the roads compared to downtown Denver. Again, big difference between downtown Denver and the Palmer Divide and the foothills west and south of town. So with that in mind, that gives you a little bit of an overview. And by the way, spring officially begins on Sunday. So we end the system on Thursday, high of just 40 degrees. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we spike those temperatures back up into the 60s. And then early next week, we've got what looks to be a very interesting storm system that'll move its way into our region for next Monday. A little bit early to get into details on that, but if it does pan on out, one computer forecast model, the GFS, pans on out, could be real interesting early next week, but still a little bit early for that. Just want to put that on your radar that Monday and Tuesday next week looks active, with the potential for some strong winds and perhaps some pretty heavy snow. But again, lots to figure out with that storm system before we get to that. And of course, all eyes here on tomorrow night and your Thursday morning. Thanks so much for joining us here on 9 News Watch. I'm meteorologist Chris Bianchi. You'll hear more from meteorologist Keely Chalmers coming up at 9 News at noon, and also meteorologist Danielle Grant will be in for the 4, 5, 6, 9, and 10 on the 9 News family of networks later on this evening and tonight. In the meantime, enjoy a beautiful day today before the active weather returns for your day tomorrow. I'm meteorologist Chris Bianchi, and have a great rest of your day.